Flosstube friends. I thought we'd do a stitch with me and we'll give it a go again. So as you can see, today we are going to stitch on my Mirabilia Andromeda. And since as I've got so much skin to do, I thought that whilst I chatted to you, I would do the skin, because it's 1/1 and it's one of those really painful jobs that just has to be done. So I thought, perfect opportunity to sit and stitch and chat to you whilst I sit here and do 1/1 skin, which you all know, for those that do it, can be a bit tiresome. So I hope you're all well and that you've had a good week or so since the last time we chatted. I haven't had such a fabulous time recently. So basically I've had some ill health again, which is not ideal. The timing couldn't really have been much worse from a work perspective. And although I did try and dip in and out of work last week, it just wasn't working out very well. So needless to say, I spent most of my week in bed feeling absolutely atrocious, and then had various appointments with doctors, consultants, those types of fun people. So yeah, so last week, or the last sort of 10 days, has been a bit of a wipeout really, because I felt so dreadful. And although I'm working from home all week this week, although I'm feeling a bit better, I'm not fantastic. So yeah, and obviously there's plenty more appointments that need to be had and done, which is not really what I anticipated. So yeah, it's been a weird week or so. I've got some more appointments that I need to attend to, and some procedures to be done. So not really looking forward to that, but fingers crossed at the moment. Although I don't feel 100% better, I feel a lot better than I did. So at least I'm able to sort of be out of bed and moosh around and not be sort of suffering quite as much. So there is the possibility. So I've got some appointments that I need to go to next week, beginning of next week. And the beginning of next week will be the dictator as to whether there's any surgical intervention needed. And if so, what the extent of that will be. So I'm not sure yet. There's a possibility of it at the moment. There is talk of it, so we will have to wait and see what the outcome is next week when I have my appointments with the consultant and a few more of the scans. So yeah, not quite what I had in mind for the next few weeks. I thought my days of recuperating from various surgeries was over, but hold on, I can't see what I'm doing now. Where am I going with this? Let's go down here. So yeah, so needless to say, I think it's going to be an interesting few weeks coming. So as to how much stitching I'll get done, I'm not sure. I haven't really been as productive as I would have liked this week. That's the thing, you sort of sit there and think, oh, if you're not at work and, you know, you can do some stitching, but when you feel really atrocious, the last thing that you want to do is actually stitch. So I haven't actually achieved as much as I would have liked, which is But I just didn't have it in me, if I'm honest. But then I think everyone's the same. You know, you sort of sit there and think, oh, you know, if you weren't at work and you was a little bit poorly, you'd sit and stitch. But I think when you feel really dreadful, you just don't want to do anything. So I didn't want to do anything. So I did nothing. And to be honest, when I wasn't suffering, I was sleeping. And it's just amazing how much you actually sleep when you don't feel very well. So yeah, lots of sleeping's been happening, and I've basically spent hours in bed. So yeah, that's my excitement. But I do feel a lot better than I did. And I have been working from home today. So I thought, well, since as my day has just finished from work, now is a perfect opportunity to do a spot stitching and chat to my Flosstube friends. Oh, hello, where are you going? So yeah, and I've sort of been putting off this skin business. I was like, I really do need to get the leg done so that it doesn't look all bitty and piecey, but I can't say that it's something I absolutely fancy doing, but it does make it a little easier to sit and stitch and chat, because it is just all one colour for this section of 1/1 for my sins, see? So yeah, there you go. So I thought I would join you in a bit of stitchy time, just for a short amount of time, just to get some skin done. There we go. Let's do some marking, because I'll still get lost in my chart. So yeah, so that's what I've been up to. We have the lovely storm Gareth hitting the UK currently. It's not, I don't think we're destined to actually get the worst of it. I think the north of the country is getting the worst of the storm. I think we're getting sort of the tail end of it later on this evening and tomorrow morning. So we seem to be getting a lot of storms. We never used to get sort of storms. We just used to have rain. It was just rain and cold. But just recently, I've noticed there's been a lot of storms that have been coming our way, which is quite unusual for the UK. We don't really get storms, not real storms, not like what sort of other countries get. When they say a storm, they get a real storm. But I mean, we're sort of getting hit with sort of torrential rain, up to 70-mile-an-hour winds, which after all that rain is quite damaging, because obviously all the trees come down. Inevitably, it always makes travelling tricky. So yeah, but it's quite rare. I've not really known it to be this bad, but there just seem to be like one storm after another recently. So hello global warming. So yeah, so if all of a sudden you hear loads of noise, it's because all of a sudden it's chucking it down with rain. But at the moment, so far so good. We've just got clouds, which I can do clouds. Needless to say, I've not been out in the garden because the weather has not been conducive, and I really haven't felt up to it at all. So yeah, no gardening's happening. No work's been happening. No stitching's been happening. Although I say I haven't done any stitching, I have actually been stitching, but I've been stitching more on my new start. So the wedding sampler piece for my for my niece, which is coming along nicely actually. Surprisingly, I wasn't too sure about it at first, but it's coming along quite well. Maybe I'll show you that in a tick, just so I can share it. I've got my little fur baby sitting down next to me. Hold on, let me show you my, can I show you it? Oh no, it's over there. I'll have to leave it as a surprise because it's too far away to go and get it to show it to you. So yeah, I thought the lovely Andromeda needed a leg, or legs. So I thought, well, this is an ideal opportunity to do legs. But I've got to be honest, 1/1, whatever possessed me. And I say that every time I've done anything that's sort of 1/1, it's oh. Apart from obviously my full coverage, because obviously that's slightly different. But these ones, it's sort of, you know, 4 little stitches to the equivalent of normally 1 stitch. It's just, it's a bit slow going. And you sort of sit there and look back after sort of half an hour, an hour's worth of stitching, like, is that all I've done? Is that it? I mean, it's worth it at the end, but at the time it's like, oh no. Just why I think I leave the skin to the last. I try to. But I'm trying to make it so that I haven't got nothing but skin to do right at the last, because, yeah, that could be a bit mind-numbing, couldn't it? To just be sitting there doing days and days of skin at the end of it all. So my plan is to try and do some of the skin, then move on and do some more of the rock, and then go back and do a bit more skin, such as like the arms and the face, and then complete with the beads. Although I didn't have the beads, but I've ordered them now, so. And I've also ordered the Krennic for this as well, because I didn't have that either. So I thought it was about time I got those ordered. So yeah, that's the fun I've been having. Sounds like my boss just logged on to his computer. Okay. What else to tell you all? Not really much to tell you, to be honest. I haven't really done anything, because obviously, well, that's not strictly true, actually. So I've only actually been feeling better since sort of late on Saturday, and it was sort of a last minute decision. So I had a dancing competition that I was supposed to have been attending on the Sunday, which basically is the qualifiers for the NATD at Blackpool. And on Friday, I was like, do you know what? I don't care. I don't care whether I go to Blackpool or not, because I feel too dreadful. I can't go if I feel this bad. So initially, I wasn't actually going to go to the qualifiers. I missed my dancing lesson, which was on the Monday, and the class on the Thursday. So I was thinking, I can't go to a dance competition and I haven't done any sort of practice the week before, you know, to go over stuff. So initially I was like, you know what, I'm just not going to do Blackpool this year. But then obviously I started feeling a bit better on the Saturday late afternoon, early evening, so I was like, all right, maybe I'll consider it. So on the Sunday morning when I got up, I was like, do you know what, I haven't got to be there until sort of 2:30, 3 o'clock anyway. We'll only be there for 4 hours-ish. So I thought, well, we'll go. I'll go, do what I've got to do, and come home. Job done. Because I thought it's not an all-day event. It's not too far away. It's only like an hour and 15 minutes away in the car. We'll just do it so as not to miss the finals at Blackpool in July. So, Chris, I've meandered around most of the morning. I got myself all sorted out and the dress is all sorted out, hair and makeup done. Jumped in the car with hubby, headed off with the thought of 4 hours and I'll be home. Got there, they do the children's dancing ahead of the adults. So the children sort of basically do their bit and they do the single dancing and then they do the couples. So you've got like little boys and girls that do all the wonderful dancing. But when we got there, we got there at about 2:30 because I thought, well, that gives me enough time to get into my dress, get some practice dancing before the rounds actually start for the qualifiers for us. So we got there about 2:30, only to be told that there's a 4-hour delay and that the kids were so behind. I was like, oh, great. Needless to say, my 4-hour dancing escapades actually, we got there at 2:30. We left there at 10:30. Yeah, that was a long ass day, considering that I wasn't at my best. So, wasn't quite what I signed up for. You know, when you're like, why did I agree to this? But once I was there, I was like, well, you know what? There's no point in me trying to go home now. There's no point. I'm here now. It was just a really long day. But it was a fruitful day. So I qualified for Blackpool in both the Latin and the ballroom. And I come third in the ballroom with the waltz. And I came first in the Latin, in the cha-cha. So, yeah, I think I needed that actually, because sometimes I think, you know, when you go to something like that and you're going to do the qualifiers and then go to the finals, you need like that little boost of confidence. Because otherwise you're like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do. And then your nerve gets the better of you. What it does for me, I'm not really want to stand out in the spotlight type of person. And then I'm always I never think it went well at the time. So I'll do the dance and I'll think, oh, dear, that was awful. You know, I done my steps wrong. I didn't do my arms right. I didn't keep my shoulders down. I didn't have my head in the right position. You know, you go through all that whole... It didn't feel good, it didn't feel right, it felt like I was all over the place, and in actual fact it went really well. So I don't think trusting my own judgment is necessarily the right approach. But it definitely helps with the confidence to sort of think, well, it felt like it wasn't very good, but in actual fact it must have been better than it felt then. So I'm pleased that I went. It just was a really, really long day. And obviously because I'd been feeling so unwell, on the Monday it was almost like being hit by a freight train for what I'd done on the Sunday. So yeah, that was that was interesting. But it was worth it. It was worth the effort just so that I could go and do the finals. Right, where are we at? Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, there's another line. Ooh, we're not doing bad. So yeah, so the dancing was good. that's, what am I going to do with that? I'm going to stick that thread over there out the way for a little while and I'll come back to it. So that was a good Sunday. So I'm quite lucky that I'm working from home all week this week. I've got my boss out in Houston, which has sort of worked in my favour. So although I do feel better than I did, I'm far from 100%. So the fact that it allows me to work from home and not have to worry about commuting or, you know, various bits and pieces, that's quite good. So I've got a whole nother week at home this week to recover. And then next week, Monday, I've got a consultant appointment. Tuesday, I've got a scan. And I think based on Monday and Tuesday will dictate what happens from there. So watch this space. I think is the way I'm going to have to roll with it, because I'm really not sure what's going to happen. But obviously if I do have the surgery, then I can't imagine that I'm going to be doing... Oh, lost my thread. I can't imagine that I'm going to be doing monstrous amounts of stitching. But that's okay. There's plenty of time for it. I suppose it depends on, one, if I do have the surgery, how bad I feel. Though I must admit, I've got quite partial, where obviously I've been unwell, although I haven't stitched on any of my bigger projects, on the ones that are on the frames. I have been doing a bit of stitching on my shoes, because it's on a Q-snap. So I've just been sitting in bed doing a few stitches, putting it back down again. So yeah. So I suppose I have done something. It's not like I've done nothing, just haven't done as much as I would have liked. But then I think we all have times like that, don't we? Where it's a bit sort of hit and miss. And my mum, she's, for those that were been asking after my mum, she's doing good, thank you. Haven't really seen much of her myself, to be honest. I mean, I pop down almost every day just to make sure she's okay and have a quick cup of tea with her. But even then, there's been some days I've been like, oh, Mum, I only pop round just to say, make sure you're okay, I've got to go back to bed. So I think my mum was a bit concerned about me as well. So obviously I didn't want to... The only trouble is you don't want to sort of worry your mum too much when she knows she's dealing with her own problems. So I was always like, hey Mum, just popping down just to say hi. And she'd be like, want a cup of tea? And I'd be like, no, I'm going to go and crawl back in bed and have a little nap. You know, so I don't really sort of say too much to her, because I don't want her to worry. So it's love her, she's been left down there to her own devices. Not that that seems to be phasing her by any stretch of the imagination. So we've hooked her up with, so obviously we've got Sky TV here. So she's got all Sky and Sky Movies and Sky Box Office. And obviously I've got Amazon Prime. So obviously I've linked her to my Amazon Prime so that she had Amazon Prime. And then my husband has got Netflix account. So we linked her to the Netflix account. So needless to say, my mum has just been, well, my mum's she's very much a royalist. So she loves the royal family. She loves historical stuff. And because there's so much stuff that's across sort of all three platforms, so like the Netflix, Amazon, Sky, and then obviously she loves her YouTube, so she loves to watches all the interviews and bits and pieces that take place on YouTube for the royal family, and so she's just basically just sits there with a laptop or a TV and just gets to know about what's going on in the world with the royal family, and all things that she's really into. So although I've left her to her own devices, I think she's been more than happy to be left to her own devices, watching all her favourite stuff. Right, how many have we got now? That's 1, that's 2, that's 3, that's 4. Okay, so I just finished a few of the threads there on the leg, just to get them out of the way. Me and my daughter have been discussing universities. So we had rather an interesting conversation today about, I sort of said to her, she was saying something about not wanting to live away to go to uni, so hence the reason why she's looking only at universities that are close to home. So I was like, yeah, but it's all about sort of, the experience of it, the getting out in the big wide world, living in a dorm, the partying. And she said, well, I don't want to do all that, Mum. So I was like, well, obviously, because you're not going anywhere. I said, but, it's an experience. It's an experience that really shouldn't be missed. So she was just like, well, she said, I think it's overrated. What do you do when your kid's like that? So I was just like, I said, well, you do have to. She was like, I don't want to leave home anyway. She said, I'm quite happy here. And I was like, well, I know you are. I said, that's the problem. I said, but you do have to move out at some point, And she was like, no, I don't. She said, why do I have to move out? So I was like, everyone has to move out. I said, you've got to go and live your own life. Do the things that you want to do. I said, in the order that you want to do them, not in the order that your parents tell you to do everything. She's not interested. She won't have none of it. And she's like, well, why would I want to do that? She went, I don't care if you tell me to do things in certain orders. She said, I'm fine with that. So I was like, I'm sure you are. I said, but I'd be happier if you moved out. In a nice way. It's not meant in a nasty way, but it is sort of like, I'm sitting there thinking, but the way she's talking is as if she's like, well, today's world, Mum, most people don't move out from their parents' house till at least 26 or 27. You should have seen the look of horror on my face. I was like, what? I was like, you're not staying with me, I said, until you're 26 or 27 years old. I said, no way. I said, you need to go and get your own place. I said, learn what real budgeting is. Pay a mortgage, have bills, do shopping, housework, washing, all of those lovely mundane things that we all have to do at some point in our lives. I'm not sure whether it's that she doesn't like the idea of, or just the thought of not living at home. She seems to be a bit of a homey kid. Other than go to work and go off out every now and then, she doesn't really go out very much. She's not really a socialite. Which is fine, but I'm not sure that I want her living with me indefinitely. But she did make me laugh. I don't think she took it the wrong way, though. She didn't sort of sit there and say, oh, Mum, great, nice one, you just want to get rid of me. She was actually laughing, so I don't think she sort of took it as anything other than me sort of saying, well, you you can't live with your parents forever. At some point you do have to go out in the big wide world by yourself, you know, and live independently. But it was quite a funny conversation. Never in my wildest dreams did I think I'd be having a conversation to kick my kid out in a nice way. I thought it'd be sort of more the, you know, oh no, don't leave. But she seems to be very homely. Look what you're doing, Teresa. You can't do it like that. Okay. Well, the leg is coming along, isn't it? We're getting there. Slowly, but surely. I do hope you can't see the top of my head in the camera. And we had to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where am I at? One, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've got one more. I suppose I should really go down and check in on my mum shortly. What's the time? Yeah, it's 20 past. No, it's not. It's 25 to 6. Go and do my usual, have a cup of tea and a chat with her since she's been left down there to her own devices all day. We'll finish this last row of... See, this is it with the 1 over 1. You have to remember that for every line of stitches you do, you have to do 2 lines. So which is how it's so easy to go wrong. Oh, I find it easy to go wrong, but then I find it easy to go wrong on almost anything that I stitch on. And I have no idea why. But I must admit, sitting here chatting to you and stitching this up, it goes much faster. Like normally I sit there and do a few rows and I'm like, oh, I'm bored. And then I have to stop and move on to something else and do a little bit of something different just because I find it too boring. Where am I going with this? That's it. But I have to be honest, I've just sat here and chatted to you and I've done quite a good bit of leg there. A lot more than I would have done if I'd have just sat here all by myself and ploughed through it, because it's just too boring. And I'm still undecided of what else I want to get out to stitch on. You know, when you get the feeling that everything else is getting neglected, because I've not been very well and I've only been stitching on the small things, I feel like everything else has been neglected. You know, I did have big plans. I had huge plans after I'd done my February update video. You know, my plans were to get the chatelaine out, do some on that, get alternative reality out, make some headway on that. But no, none of that's happened. Neither of those projects have come out to play. So, but it is what it is. Not going to sweat it, so to speak. Okay, there we go. I think that will do. I've got down to the bit that I wanted to. There's not much. There's a little bit of ankle left to do there, but there's beads that go in that section as well. So that's a little easier to contend with. So there we go. Thank you for hanging out with me, people. Sorry if I've been a bit, but I haven't really had anything to say. Not of great interest and enthusiasm anyway. So yeah. Well, fingers crossed. Obviously, what I've been trying to do is do my monthly update and then sort of a stitch with me video in between, and maybe another one if I can get time to. Obviously, based on the fact that we are in March where we are, and given that I'm not too sure what's going to happen next week, I think will dictate whether I see you again before the end of March for my March update, or maybe a little bit later. It really all depends on what happens next week. So, but thank you for hanging out with me and making this leg a little bit more bearable. I do appreciate all of you to come and stitch with me and listen to my rambles. So until next time, bye bye for now.